Today, we're diving into something really powerful: how to actually break that cycle of automatic negative emotions. The ones that feel like they control us. We're going to talk about how to take back the driver's seat of your own life.
I mean, have you ever felt that feeling when you just snap with anger or frustration and it's almost before you even realize what's happening? It can honestly feel like you're stuck in this loop that you just can't get out of.
Here's a great way to think about it. Your life is like a road, and every single time you have that same emotional reaction, you're digging a rut in that road a little bit deeper. The more you drive down that path, the harder and harder it gets to steer out of it. So that brings us to our first big idea here, what we can call the emotional autopilot. Let's really get into why these reactions feel so automatic, almost like we don't even have a choice in the matter.
It pretty much happens in this quick four-step cycle. First, something happens. That's the trigger. Say someone cuts you off in traffic. Second, your subconscious just instantly runs a program. Third, you react. Your heart starts pounding, you feel that surge of anger. And fourth, and this is the kicker, that reaction reinforces the very pathway that caused it, making it even more likely to happen next time.
And the result of all this? Well, without even knowing it, we hand over this invisible remote control for our feelings. A comment someone makes, a text that goes unanswered, some bad traffic. They all get to press a button, and we just deliver a pre-programmed response. We're letting the outside world call the shots on how we feel inside. But what if you could take back that remote control? That's what we're talking about next. This is the big aha moment, the key insight that makes real, lasting change totally possible. Okay, this is probably the most important thing to get. You are not your reactions. That automatic flash of anger, that's not the real you. It's just an old program firing off. The real you is the one who can step back and watch it happen. That awareness, that's where all your power is. And look, this isn't just some nice philosophical idea. It's backed by some serious science. It's all possible because of this incredible thing called neuroplasticity. And all that means is that your brain isn't fixed in stone. It has this amazing ability to literally rewire itself. This discovery completely flips the old script. For decades, the belief was that the adult brain was pretty much hardwired. What you had is what you got. But the new science shows that every single thought, every single experience you have is either making old connections stronger or building brand new ones. Your brain is alive and changing constantly. So let's go back to our road analogy. What neuroplasticity means is that you can consciously choose to stop driving in those deep, old, muddy ruts. You can actually start building brand new, super smooth, super efficient neural highways. And guess what? The more you use these new highways, the more those old ruts just fade away from not being used. Okay, so we know it's possible. We know the brain can change. But how do we actually do it? How do we start building those new roads? This next part gets into the practical, how-to steps. The process itself sounds pretty simple, but it is so powerful. First, when you feel that trigger go off, the most important thing you can possibly do is just pause. Don't do anything. Just create a little space. Second, observe the feeling. Where is it in your body? What are you thinking? Just notice it, kind of like a scientist watching an experiment. And third, from that quiet space of observation, you make a new choice. But hang on. If it's just 3 steps, why does it feel so incredibly hard when you first try it? Why does it feel like your whole body is fighting you, almost craving that old, familiar, negative feeling? Well, here's the wild reason why. Your body can actually get used to the chemical cocktail of its own emotions. I mean, think about it. If you spend years and years feeling angry or stressed out, your body gets accustomed to that rush of hormones like cortisol. It can literally become chemically addicted and start to crave those feelings, even if you know they're destroying you. So to overcome that chemical resistance, we can't just try to react differently in the heat of the moment. We have to be proactive. We need to actively create and practice a new way of being, a new internal state. So let's look at the tools for that transformation. There are 2 incredibly effective practices that can really speed up this process of reprogramming your mind and your body: visualization and meditation. The reason visualization is such a game changer is pretty simple.
Your brain literally does not know the difference between a real experience and one you just vividly imagine. So when you sit down and vividly rehearse responding calmly to that trigger, your brain fires the exact same neural networks as if it were really happening. You're building those new highways before you even get on the road.
And meditation? Well, that's the gym where you train that pause and observe muscle. It's the practice of just noticing your thoughts without getting totally carried away by them. The more you meditate, the bigger that space between the trigger and your reaction becomes. And it's in that space, that's where you find your freedom to choose. So, when you consistently practice these steps, when you use these tools, you start to arrive at the ultimate destination: true inner freedom. You literally become the master of your own inner world.
So what does this actually look like over time? Well, by intentionally practicing feelings like peace or gratitude, you start to operate on a totally different emotional frequency. It's kind of like tuning your internal radio to a new station. The old static from that trigger, it just can't find a signal in you anymore. And this, right here, is the ultimate point. The world doesn't have to change for you to find peace. The person who triggers you doesn't need to change a thing. You change. And because your internal wiring is different, those external things just lose their power over you. Simple as that.
And that leaves us with a final thought to really sit with. Just imagine it for a second. Who would you be? What could you create in your life? What could you achieve if nothing and no one on the outside had the power to disturb the peace you've built on the inside?